I'm James Rod, CEO of Modality Systems.
I'm Justin Morris, Country Manager for Australia at Modality Systems.
So, as we're now looking at 2018, you kind of covered some of the trends, some of the technology trends, some of the buzzwords as well that are out there in the industry at the moment. And it might be worth spending a few minutes thinking about how an organisation gets the best from it. I think, as we've discussed many times, technology can move really, really fast. Vendors can create it. Partners can work on how to deploy it. Technology teams can take it. You can set up, test banks really, really quickly. I mean, you can, in a matter of minutes now, you can enable some users for, for any of the cloud-based services that are available. But it might be worth taking a look and saying, if you're going to look at any organisation, then the one thing that hasn't changed necessarily as quickly is the end user organisation itself. So when we look at all of the things I just mentioned and how quickly that has to change, the one thing I'm seeing that is possibly not necessarily as speedy, as quick to change is the customer organisation.
Yeah.
If you want to benefit from some of this new technology, you have to consider how you buy it, because it's not delivered in the same way anymore. It's not available in the same way anymore. It's not the same partners anymore, but you'll get substantial value. But you have to kind of unpick this all the way and understand what is the success criteria for your business and how you want to buy it.
Definitely.
And it's probably a fair point to consider as we look at next year.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to the cultural elements of the drivers of that change. And you look at digital transformation as a whole, like a lot of that, and we'll talk to the technology that powers that transformation, but as we're continually seeing both this year and we'll see next year, as it comes down to the people and the drivers and the desires and that are happening with that. And to your point around the sort of the buying and the purchasing of that technology, as things transform from a digital perspective, there's those opportunities to transform processes and transform how people view those experiences as well. Because if you're looking to trial out new technology available from the cloud, you need to do that in a nimble and a flexible way. And there's gone now this adage of, okay, we need to involve our procurement department to engage the single supplier that's on the panel to get that technology, when somebody now can just go to a vendor's website, put in a credit card and start using that technology. So there needs to be, I think, a new viewpoint of that still allows that compliance and governance to be leveraged, but then in a more flexible and sort of manner that allows people to still sort of try out technology and get that near-term value from it.
It's a further validation of the point. I mean, digital transformation, again, one of the many buzzwords, but that in its own right is you can transform digitally. You can enable your company with all the tech in all the world, but if you don't get that employee engagement, hence the adoption and the training and the right tech for the right person, which is always going to drive that, you don't get the right cultural acceptance of it and the right cultural change, then you're not going to get the best value from it.
Yeah.
And that cultural change doesn't have to be fixed in any way, shape or form. We have examples of organisations, very, very disruptive change, as in they actually want to force people to work in a different way. And for those who've watched a few of my sessions before, you'll know I talk quite heavily about companies that say we need to change quickly and massively. And they've done things, they've moved offices, they've changed desks, they've changed chairs, they've changed the software that sits on the desktop, and they've changed the devices they use to access it, but they have physically broken the way they used to work. They say we're changing every aspect of our company, down to the point of, is it PC versus Mac? Is it cloud versus on-prem? Is it one vendor versus another? That's just a part of it. But that true disruptive change, to make a cultural change, to get employees to work differently, to then force them to think differently about how you are successful in today's world, has been a huge play. And we have other customers that are much more softly, very much respectful of the business model that they are, maybe controlled very heavily by compliance, and say, we are going to handhold our user base to accept and adopt these new technologies in a much more controlled fashion.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong in that at all. It's a bit of everything for everybody. And I think that's something very, very clearly set out from my point of view, that any company looking at embracing anything that's available in enterprise, collaboration or communication from any vendor really needs to think long and hard about.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to having that clear value proposition as well, because to your point, James, you can't just thrust technology onto people and say this is the way we're going because one part of the organisation has said this is going to be a great idea, and they've just kind of blanketed the rest of the organisation with that. There has to be very clear engagement with those parts of the organisation to say we have this technology available to us now, we think it'll benefit you in this way, engage with them, get them involved in that thought process, and then that way they're then brought in with that, so that if a decision is made to adopt that technology in that department, that those people have said, yes, we see value in it, and then that adoption is more set up for success from day one than if it's just said, thrust and pushed on top of people.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Justin. Thanks for today. It's been a great chat. I'm sure there'll be more to follow from the pair of us together and separately. But it's great to see you, and very much looking forward to a good 2018.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks, James. Cheers.